All right, lesson 37. So, as we mentioned in our last lesson, now we're going to get into why the elite royalty see it as beneficial that most people don't make the quantum transition through the duet after death. Why it is seen as beneficial that most souls reincarnate and stay right here. So, we're continuing to read the book Balls of Fire, The Science of Life and Death, and we're on page 49. So, go ahead and read that section I showed you there, son.
So in the mesocosm, it may be possible that a bacteriophage, variable, or carrier molecule might transfer human DNA to avoid degradation. At a death transition, one must know where to find the viral variable, and this is what ancient Egypt, early China, and the Navajo are explaining in their eschatological literature, how to find a viral ride to avoid degradation. It is like trying to find a taxi home on a busy night after a ball game. If you don't know exactly where to find a taxi, you are out of luck. Also consider that there is room in the taxi for only one DNA fragment to be horizontally gene transferred for transformation due to vector requirements on the lambda genome. Add to this that crystals and DNA have atomic spatial limitations, and you are beginning to understand why the Pharaonic elite kept chemical information away from the plebeians.
Right, the word plebeians is basically means common or regular people. So what it's saying is now you're beginning to see why the pharaohs kept this information hidden away from the masses, from the general population. Right? So what it's saying is the fewer DNA strands being ferried by the bacteriophage vectors in the lytic cell cycle apparently makes the process to exit the duet more likely easier. And this is because of spatial limitations which are on the microcosmic and macrocosmic level. The lytic cell cycle replicates the DNA many times. So theoretically, if everyone on Earth took this path and no one reincarnated, it might confuse the process because, it's not likely that everyone would make it out of the duet. So it's probably better that most people just embrace the light and reincarnate at death. Because at the moment of death, you can either choose to embrace the light or the darkness. But if you choose to reject the light and embrace the darkness, then you got to know what to do in the duet. You got to know the way. Otherwise, if you don't know the way, if you don't know how to activate that code in your so-called junk DNA, you could get trapped in the duet for who knows how long. So you got to be able to get out of the duet to become your own chemoluminescent light being, to become a god, to build your own universe. So the duet is called the underworld in the English translation of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The duet is the Earth's magnetic field, as we covered in lesson 32, according to the ISIS thesis. You got to be able to get out of here to become a star, to become your own light, instead of continuing to be a photosynthetic being who depends on another's light, this star's light, for your energy and survival. So we'll continue to read on. Turn to page 50 after 49 there.
Okay.
Yeah, read there, starting at that section. Go ahead.
It says the rationale for secrecy.
Right.
That here on Earth, the unwritten code for carbon-based human life is to keep death transition knowledge secret because nature operates by the sacrifice of numerous individuals for the benefit of a few organisms. Otherwise, the system does not work. So, dissipation demands must be met, and this preserves some of the species and recycles the rest.
Right, so scientists have observed biological organisms in their natural environment which also behave in the pattern of sacrificing the many for the benefit of the few. Read on.
It says, historically, as a ploy of biopower, concealing chemical knowledge about viral gene expression for reproduction fitness is a selfish device of the elite to assure the survival of their DNA over the majority of human beings whose DNA will probably be degraded due to necessary non-native interactions. Thus, the DNA of unaware biological altruist is degraded. Altruist is degraded, boosting the fitness of the DNA of the non-altruist elite. Pikachu! It says cryptic growth or the turnover of some of the population at the expense of the majority is evident in the process, and thermodynamic constraints apply since the number of cells death required to give rise to a new cell must be greater than 1 and has been estimated to be 3 to 5. Foster 1993-7. Thus, numerous individuals are sacrificed for the benefit of a few.
Right. Read on.
As research indicates, the Pharaonic priesthood had a choice at a death transition due to secreting knowledge about gene selection or adaptive mutation, but the elite Pharaonic priesthood left the uniformed, altruistic plebeians with no choice because a sacrifice was necessary for the natural process to function.
Right, so the plebeians, the general mass population of people, are actually being sacrificed by being directed to be on a path of autopilot reincarnation. And this is actually necessary for making the lytic cell cycle process of avoiding reincarnation easier and more likely for the deceased elite royalty or the few who do take this path. So the mummified pharaohs became chemoluminescent gods after they die, and they go on to build their own universes in their own images and after their own likenesses to continue to experience themselves through their own creations. Well, the majority of people, they just make this a lot easier and more possible for the pharaohs or the elite by reincarnating themselves, by sacrificing themselves, by not making this transition on this path that the pharaohs take. And you know, a lot of people are attached to being here, to being a human, to being a photosynthesis organism who depends on sugar and carbohydrates as an energy source. I even spoke to one person who said, I think I'd like to reincarnate. I'd like to do it all over again. But you know, to each their own. What's heaven for one could be hell for another. But you know, Buddha does teach us reincarnation is hell. You got to repeat this until you can eventually break this cycle and get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? So go ahead and continue to read on where you left off there.
Perhaps today in our modern culture, the elite are still secreting DNA survival knowledge. Nonetheless, if you can read the signs and see the patterns of human behavior, then the message is still present for anyone.
Right, so in other words, times are different now in this current internet age of information we're living in as opposed to how things were in ancient times. So today, the knowledge is out there, although, you know, most people may not be seeking it or receiving it. But today, the cat's out of the bag for anyone who's truly seeking such knowledge. It isn't like back in ancient times when you had to be a particular person of royal rank to have access to such knowledge. You know, it's out there now. Next lesson, we're going to talk about the main tool that was used throughout history to direct the majority of common people on the automatic path of self-sacrifice and reincarnation. You know what I'm saying? We're getting the real knowledge right here. We're going to get out of this thing, you know what I'm saying?